Flyweights looking to tango this weekend in Salt Lake City with 21 finishes between them and 5 finished losses as well. We have Brazil's Vinicius Salvador taking on San Antonio, Texas's CJ Vergara. And Matt, when you look forward to a fight like this, I know I got amped up because for Vinicius Salvador, going on to Contender Series, he fought a very well-established former Eternal Champ in Shannon Ross. And we know the Shannon Ross blueprint now. It's get finished on Contender Series, get a contract, get finished twice in the UFC, and that is what it is. But for Salvador, he got that giant win over Shannon Ross on Contender Series, set him up well to make a big-time UFC debut. And if you watch Salvador when he fought Victor Altamirano, he kind of tried to fight a little bit like Anderson Silva, but if Anderson Silva grew his hair out, shaved it from the back up, and then just had a bump cap in the front. Wow. Like if you're trying to be safe but also look cool.
Like Brazilian Ronaldo when he fought or when he played in the World Cup.
It was the ugliest haircut I've ever seen. But Salvador, at moments, I wondered, what is this guy doing? Because at one point he's fighting, and then all of a sudden he backs away, walks back to the cage, goes come on to his opponent, and then puts his hand on his hip like he's just hanging out like a cool guy. And if you watch CJ Vergara in his last fight, it was a 2-round fight of the night against Daniel Lacerda da Silva, who's lost 4 fights in the UFC, all by finish, but he's coming back to a screen near you in the not-so-distant future. And in that one, Matt, I counted, and I know this might seem wrong, but the UFC's knockdown counter's a little chintzy sometimes. Spinning wheel kick drops Vergara the first time. A straight left drops him a second time. A third time was another spinning wheel kick, and then a fourth time, I said he stumbled after a punch combo. CJ Vergara, in my opinion, got knocked down 4 different times in the first round of that fight. Who did it better, Vergara or Chelsea Chandler? Because Vergara was running away from the action like Anderson.
You must hate Alistair
like
Overeem.
Alistair Overeem or Conor McGregor, just running away from it. But in the second round, Vergara gets the action down in the mat. He's caught. It was a calf slicer, like he was taking on Brett Johns. But then Vergara landing those elbows, landing the ground and pound. Vergara, he gets into an arm triangle at one point. He looked amazing in the second round. It was a great show of determination. Coming off a tough Tatsuro Taira loss, and even the other loss that Vergara has in the UFC, if you consider it, a very, very interesting fight against Ode Osborne that was really close and showed a lot of great resolve from both athletes. So when you look at a fight like this, Matt, for Vergara, a lot of movement, a lot of side to side.
He strikes a little too much. That's all I want to say.
He does.
CJ Vergara is awesome when he's able to get guys on the ground and get that top position.
Hasn't done it a lot in the UFC.
He hasn't, but when he gets into those positions, he is very good. You bring up the ground and pound. He can threaten with submissions too, and that's where I do think the best part of his game lies. He really does make you think, okay, I have to defend this, now I have to defend strikes, and when he's able to really kind of brain scramble his opponents by just throwing a lot at them on the mat, I think he can have a lot of success. But I thought the exact same thing you did watching his last matchup. Take it to the ground, CJ. Take it to the ground. And then he gets hit by big shot after big shot after big shot. And I'll be honest, before the Tatsuro Taira matchup, I thought CJ was going to break through as a 125er at some point. Just because when you do look at the totality of his skill set, there's things he can build upon. But I got to bring it up because I said it about Raoni Barcelos for so many years. CJ Vergara is 32 years old. Like, at some point, he is going to have to start clicking and getting his whole skill set to work together. Because if he is just on the outside striking with a guy like Vinicius Salvador, especially early in the matchup, he's going to eat a lot of power shots, and that's how you lose rounds, especially early. And that's what I have a hard time with in this fight. Can Vinicius keep that movement and keep his steadiness for at least 8-9 minutes, just so he can go out there and put it on CJ to where he's hurt enough that he's not going to be as confident going for some of those takedowns? Because you can get CJ to kind of be that outside fighter who is going to use his movement, and that's by far the worst version of him that you can possibly find. And that's why I always get kind of frustrated watching CJ Vergara fight. He's really good at the things that he can get the fight to, but then he will avoid them at some points, and it's just very frustrating to see.
And Vergara, a former Fury FC flyweight champ, he was able to get it done there, which is really impressive because if you look at all the Fury champs, consider it. Joshua Van just made a debut as a super young guy, beating Zhalga Shumagulov, got near the top of that peak with Fury. You also have, right now, Alberto Trujillo, who was supposed to take a fight recently, but there were some weigh-in complications. Now he's due to take on forever Fury top man at 125 that Joshua Van fought, Paris Moran. And if you think I'm not watching Trujillo Moran, you didn't think you'd hear that today, I'm damn sure going to be tuning in for that. But when you consider a fight like this, Daniel Lacerda da Silva, all he does is spinning shots. There was even a spinning elbow that landed in the second round that I'm surprised didn't drop Vergara. Vergara's got that dog in him. He's got that little pit bull in him.
I never thought I'd hear you say that term. I
absolutely hate it. But Salvador is one of those guys that is such a wonky striker that he just could get it done. And his last time out, the Altamirano fight, Altamirano was all over him in that one. I know 29-28, the second round was kind of close in that one. But before that, I mean, Salvador taking on some less than stellar competition in Brazil. I mean, some good fights. He fought Jafel
And he was getting finishes, too.
Quite a while ago. But yeah, he was getting finishes. He was, 12-4 at a time coming into Contender Series off a win over a debuting fighter. So if you do look at the odds in this one, they are skewed towards CJ Vergara. He is favored, the American, in this one. We have a look at the Topology votes. Surprise us there to you. I think they're going to be fairly close. I'm going to say over under 60% Vergara.
I like where you set them. I'm not going to lie. I'll say under.
You're saying under? It's over 1,058 votes. The fans like this one. 78% Vergara, 78% by decision. For the 22% that have Salvador, 48% by decision, 39% by knockout. Matt, these guys are flyweights. They have 25 wins between them, 21 of them by finish. And 5 finish losses between them. The fans anticipate a decision between flyweight finishers.
And I can't disagree with the fans if you want my honest opinion, and this is why. I think both guys are so well matched, it's going to be really difficult for one to pull out ahead and get that finish win. Unless CJ just gets hurt really early in this matchup and can't find his way to fight himself back in, I think it's a really close matchup, and I think that's why the fans have it so close and going to a decision. Ever so slightly, I am going to pick CJ Vergara in this matchup. I know I spent most of this video just saying all the things I wish he did more of, but again, that fighter is in there somewheres. Whether or not we're going to see it Saturday, that's a completely different discussion, but I have seen it on the regional scene, and I think he will get back to that.
I mean, to me, the struggle that I have is Vergara struggled against Ode Osborne in the striking, against Cledison Rodriguez in the striking, against Daniel Da Silva in the striking. I'll go with Vinicius Salvador, and I didn't even think this guy would ever win a fight in the UFC. So, Matt, this is a little bit of a wonky one. I'm going Salvador. You're going with Vergara. I love myself a CJ Vergara fight, and in turn, I like a Salvador fight as well. Make sure you're tuning in for the rest of the videos in the series. The next one coming up, Jake Matthews taking on Darius Flowers. You're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.